And for more on this, let's bring in former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama and former Marine JAG officer, Newsmax legal analyst Jay Town. We also have former White House lawyer Daniel Huff and former National Security Council Chief of Staff and former CIA analyst Fred Fleitz. Pleasure to have all three of you here. Okay, Jay Town, going to start with you. The War Powers Act, the resolution here, has it run out, do you think, or in the words of the secretary, that they had that ceasefire, so that gives them a bigger window? What do you think?
Yeah, well, the statute is remarkably vague when it comes to, say, a ceasefire or when hostilities have ceased to commence, and whether or not that would actually toll the clock, if you will. But the statute also allows the president, and the president alone, to make the decision to extend the war powers for another 30 days. And I do agree with President Trump, and hopefully the other panelists will as well, that the War Powers Act and the resolution have never been contested seriously in court. And I do believe it intrudes greatly upon the commander-in-chief powers of Article 2.
Daniel, you are, of course, a former White House lawyer. How would you advise the current administration on this?
Well, I think that both arguments are strong. Argument number one is that the hostilities are over. So there is no problem here. It's not that it was paused, it's over. There was an armistice, there was a ceasefire. And if that sounds like a subterfuge to you, consider that the Korean War technically never ended. The Korean War was an armistice, a temporary ceasefire in 1953, but it's 73 years later, and it's still ongoing. Why? Because a temporary ceasefire is technically not a peace treaty, but you have the same thing here in Iran. You have a temporary ceasefire, same way you have in Korea. You wouldn't say the Korean War is ongoing. So similarly, you wouldn't say the Iran conflict's ongoing, and I think they're on very solid footing for that reason.
Fred, we'll say they hypothetically packed it up and left. President Trump brought all our armed forces home from the region, at least involved with the war with Iran here. What kind of state is that country in to do that? Would you consider that a success?
I think that's what the president has to do. We won. He made this clear. Newsmax president CEO Chris Ruddy has an incredible op-ed on the Newsmax site on the 9 ways that the U.S. won this war. I think the mark of a great leader is that when you start a difficult task and you know you won, you take the win and you walk away. What I would recommend to the president, look, we can't trust the Iranians to make a deal they're ever going to abide by. Declare a win, tell them we will blow them to kingdom come if they keep threatening the Strait of Hormuz or if they try to dig out their enriched uranium. This war has to end. That's what the president's supporters want. I think that's what the president's going to do.
Jay, we can tell through some of those Democratic lawmakers who Kilmeny shared with us some of their commentary on the War Powers Act that they obviously have every intention of going after President Trump and the administration on this 60 days. Do you think that's something that we may see happen?
Well, if the Democrats win the House in November, you can bet that this will be an article of impeachment filed against the president. It won't succeed, but still it'll be performative, as most of these impeachments by the Democrats have been. I will say this, and really to my other two colleagues' points, is that it would probably be beneficial to move from a blockade to a quarantine. Blockade is an act of war, a quarantine is not. Same effect, same mission, same duties and functions, but the terminology of it, has different sort of meaning under the laws of armed conflict. So that might be something they consider. But I agree, bring them home. You can keep the ships there if you want to, but this was a win. Ruddy's right.
Let's bring this up. Iran's new supreme leader, the Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, who hasn't been seen in person since the start of the war. It's been reported he's been severely injured in the strike that killed his father. So he released another statement, which aired on the Iranian state TV, saying, "By the will and power of God, the bright future of the Persian Gulf region will be a future without America. Foreigners who come from thousands of kilometers away, acting maliciously out of greed, have no place there except at the bottom of its waters." Fred, does that concern you at all?
No, this guy has no military capability. His navy has been sunk. Their propaganda operation keeps going. Iranian officials have big mouths, but they can't match their mouth with action. This nation has been destroyed. It has no power projection capability. We simply have to ignore all this bravado and threats, do the right thing, move our troops out of the area, but keep a naval force in the region in case Iran starts belligerent actions again.
Information. Truth is freedom. is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.